That's we have to realize that there is some serious issues with regards to social norms and other activities in which I'm going to get into throughout this presser. But yes, we do know and realize that this has been an unusual weekend. We have been doing a great job at suppressing or dealing with crime over the last week. 285 crimes reported last week. We averaged 300, 360 per week. So we were having a great week with regards to addressing crime. But this weekend of violence sure outweighs what we had done all of last week. In each of our areas of concern with regards to crime, you hear me speak to homicide, non-fatal shootings, armed robberies. In each of those categories, we were down last week compared to the previous week. And that is why I defined last week as much of a success up until this weekend. We had 3 homicides and 4 shootings over the weekend, 18 victims of gunfire, 4 of which died since Friday. We had the 5 victims on Bourbon Street, 700 block of Bourbon, as well as 4 victims, including 1 deceased in the 7700 block of Schubert. If you remember last week, we also had several victims in the 1600 block of Iberville, in which the mother turned in her son for that homicide. And again, I want to thank that mother for being that responsible parent and making that difficult decision. Additionally, this morning, we had 2 individuals who were shot in the 1800 block of North Miro in the 5th District, one of which has since expired. We had 3 victims wounded in a domestic incident in the 300 block of North Villeray. That is a domestic incident and now has been cleared by arrest. In a couple of these incidents, the Bourbon Street, 700 block of Bourbon Street, as well as the shooting on Allen Street, I want to commend the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department. I want to commend our captains and Chief Thomas on being intentional and ensuring that they are placing their officers in the right areas. So with regards to these 2 particular crimes, the 2 particular shootings, our officers were Johnny on the spot. They were right there in the area when this occurred, in which they actually heard the gunfire. They responded to the gunfire. They called the incident in while responding to it. So that is evident that we are monitoring on a daily basis. We are adjusting our deployment on a daily basis and unfortunately this time it did not deter the criminal activity, but we know that we are able to place our officers in the right areas when need be necessary due to our daily monitoring of what we see in the city of New Orleans. But throughout it all, we have remained engaged. We've arrested 7 last week, 7 individuals for non-fatal shootings. 2 of these shootings occurred last week. The other 5 are weeks prior, but nevertheless, that is what when I speak to that commitment, that dedication, we have made several arrests, 7 last week, 5 from the previous weeks, but 2 of these incidents or arrests that were made for incidents that occurred last week, as well as 2 arrests for armed robberies. Within the span of 9 hours on Saturday going into Sunday, involving this Bourbon Street shooting, our 8 district officers arrested 3 individuals for possession of a firearm on Bourbon Street, beginning at 5 p.m. or 5:15 on Saturday at Bourbon and Orleans. We had a 20-year-old to be arrested in possession of a Glock Model 21 45 caliber weapon. This individual was from Shreveport. At 7:30 that same evening, in the 200 block of Bourbon, we arrested a 15-year-old in possession of a 9mm handgun. He is from Alabama. While responding to the shooting in the 700 block of Bourbon, we arrested a 17-year-old in possession of a 9mm as well. He is from Homer. So the common denominator, the common theme that we're hearing in this is that outsiders are bringing weapons to the streets of New Orleans. and we will not allow that. We do not allow our own citizens to illegally carry firearms, and we will not allow our visitors to do it either. We've also identified another concern. We've had 3 kids to be shot, 3 kids, over the last week. A 7-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old. All as a result of individuals being irresponsible in securing their weapons. The 3-year-old and the 7-year-old were shot by another child who was mishandling the weapon. The 2-year-old was a self-inflicted wound, as a result of the weapons not properly being secured.